Hey, what's up guys? My name is Pat. For those of you guys who are familiar with my channel, I mostly do competitive collectible card games, strategy, theory, things like that, largely pertaining to the Dragon Ball Super card game. What you guys may or may not know though is I've been like a somewhat on again, off again, semi-competitive Smash Bros player for about 15 years. And even though I didn't play Smash 4 competitively, I would say that for what I did play of it, Palutena was basically my main. For those of you guys who followed her and her progress through the metagame at the start of the game, I basically spent a lot of time developing and labbing the character with Ninjalink on his streams, figuring out things like frame data, setups, gimmicks, things like that. And basically her gimmicks are, sorry about that, her gimmicks are the thing that made me want to play her. And the thing I noticed that on a lot of streams like Zeros, Leffens, Nairos, the question I see a lot in chat is, do people think Palutena is good, and how do you play her? And so I decided that maybe I would just make a video as somebody, some no-name guy that just main Palutena in Smash 4, so that way if it helps at least one person learn how to play the character, then that's a win in my book. So you can kind of think of this as like a Palutena 101. So as for an overview of the character's playstyle, most people consider her a zoning character, but I don't actually think that is accurate. I think that the character is more of a counter puncher, like think of like boxing. This is a character that wants to punish your opponent and force them into bad situations. She has quite a lot of mobility. She's quite fast on the ground, and in the air she has quite a lot of drift. So yeah, so she has just great mobility, and in tandem with her up B, she can basically put herself anywhere she needs to be on the map. And she has the tools to force the opponent to approach her or put them into very awkward positions so that she can punish them with her suite of aerials and smash attacks. So with that out of the way, let's kind of just go over her moveset and just some actual usages and history behind the move. So first up is Jab. Jab was the best move she had in Smash 4 because it bounced your opponent up. In this game, they kind of just stay there. Your only real option out of it is to just mash the jab. So this is basically just a get off me move. And since the move, it has good reach, but it's slow as far as jabs go, it's not really usable. You can still like jab into grab, but it's not a true combo like it is in Smash 4. So your opponent can just mash out of it with a move, and you just get punished for it. So your only real use for this is just to kind of poke or just get your opponent off you. Next up is her grab. Her grab has decent range. It's about 1.5 of these like final or I should say training mode blocks here. So decent grab range. Grab is one of her best options and one of her go-to things. She has two really great throws. Back throw, which can kill. It also is good for positioning and setups. So, and then you have down throw, which down throw is the money maker. You can get a lot of kill setups off of it. And then it's also just insanely good for combos and just, forcing your opponent off the stage. So if you're going to grab your opponent, make sure you're only really using these two throws. Forward throw has some, limited usage and positioning just to get your opponent off the board. Up throw is pretty much just useless though. It has like a ton of end lag, I believe. So, you can just get better options, I feel like, off of just down and back most of the time. So, also, it's important to note her pivot's pretty decent. It's not as good as it was in Smash 4, but yeah, you can see right there. It's still pretty good. Has a lot of range on it. Definitely good when you're running away from your opponent and they're kind of chasing you. If they're going to just kind of go for something, you can just kind of slide and get them with the pivot grab. Next up is her dash attack. Dash attack is one of two moves that she has that is basically completely invincible. I believe it's 7 frames of invincibility. On top of that, it has had about 13 frames of lag shaved off the end of the move. You can see, you recover decently fast from it. It's still punishable on block, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was in Smash 4. Give me a second here, and I'll show you the invincibility real fast. So you can see while she's green here, she's basically invincible. I'll try and do it once more at the start of the move, so you can kind of see. As she leans into it, she gets more and more green. Oop. See, there you go. So yeah, the character is basically completely upper body invincible here, and it will basically just outright win versus most moves. If your opponent is going to take an option like an aggressive forward air, you can just use this to completely beat it clean. it launches reasonably far at high percents and can put your opponent off stage and put them into situations where they have to dodge, you know, her suite of aerials, which have lingering hitboxes that can finish off the opponent and basically bait and kill them out of an air dodge. So, next up we have her tilts. Her tilts in Smash 4 were pretty much unusable. In this game, they are unsafe, but they're actually usable and have, you know, common usage in matches. I feel like you'll actually be using them quite a lot, as opposed to in Smash 4 they weren't that good at all. So first up is up tilt. Up tilt, you know, is still got basically the same usage that it had in Smash 4. First, it's a low profile anti-air, so if your opponent jumps in on it, you can just use this to kind of duck it and then also just, you know, beat their option pretty much cleanly. Up tilt really doesn't kill, even at like high percentage. It just, you know, pops them up. So that's kind of a negative against the move. Second off, it is a shield poke or a shield breaking move. On a character that is about Marth's height or higher, if you use this option here, like at point blank, you know they're going to shield, this will basically beat the sidestep because it lasts so long, and it will also just completely poke the top part of their shield and basically just break it. So this move is basically unblockable versus larger characters in the cast. One thing you can do is kind of just like do this little like gimmick here, and even though it's laggy, you can just kind of, you know, poke the backside of their shield and just launch them up there. And then the final option that it's basically used for most commonly is here at the ledge, where you just kind of, if you know your opponent's going to stand up, you can kind of just use this to beat the jump option or some of these standing options. So it just covers options there. So yeah, basically just, again, to recap, ledge option to anti-air, you know, specific aerials, and then break something, like break their shield on larger characters. Next up is forward tilt. Forward tilt reaches reasonably far here. It's about 3 units away at the tipper. This move has been massively buffed. It's basically a pretty good move as like a runaway tilt option. Again, if somebody's like chasing you. It's also, it persists long enough that it basically stuffs most side steps. And its disjointed hitbox means it can just kind of cleanly beat things. At the ledge in this game, this move will actually kill. So around, I think, like 120 or 130. So yeah, the move is just massively buffed. I still don't think it's like the best move, but it is actually usable in neutral and for punishing options. And then finally we have down tilt. I think down tilt's the best tilt. It was the best tilt in Smash 4. It's pretty forward reaching. It's not quite as good as up tilt. It's like almost there. But yeah, the move comes out the fastest and it recovers the fastest. So that's why I like it. It's also slightly disjointed, so some people who don't have like a snap 2 aerial, you can use it like this on the ledge, and the tip of the wand will basically just stuff it and knock them away without really putting Palutena at too much risk. It's also a really good retreating option out of dash. Forgive my execution. So, sorry. So yeah, you can see it's like it looks kind of like that. There you go. There we go. We got it on like the 4th time there. But yeah, you can basically see like it's one of the reasons why I'm still getting used to like tilt stick, but it's one of the big reasons I like it is because you can kind of just dash away, turn around, and then just kind of immediately do the. I'm probably doing it a little too fast, but yeah, you can already see like the applications of just being like run away and then do that. Again, Palutena is kind of like a punishing character. Her moves aren't fast enough on the ground to really just outright beat things clean, but they last long enough and reach far enough where if your opponent spaces wrong or makes a wrong option, you'll basically, you know, trade and just win with them. So next up is her aerials. Her up air is this move here. It lasts quite a long time, and the hitbox I feel like is buffed. I'm not sure if the edge of the wings hit in Smash 4, but they definitely do here, and the last hit is incredibly strong and kills most characters in the low 100s. It's also persists very long, so it's very hard for your opponent to just outright air dodge this. You can just kind of just throw this out there, and you know, you have such a good aerial control, you can just kind of like move around with it and just kind of be like, hey, you gotta, you know, you might have to land into this, and if you get to read the air dodge, it lasts long enough that you can just outright kill them. The move also has a ton of landing lag shaved off of it at the end. It was something like 19 frames or 17 frames or something ridiculous in Smash 4. So like no matter when you threw it out, you just had like, you know, eons of landing lag on it. But the move is definitely much improved and is one of her best kill options, and it's something you should be going for pretty often. Next up we have forward air. Forward air has an amazing spacing tool. It's not disjointed, so it does lose to some things, but it's really good for poking. It's also a really good option off the, like, walking off the ledge. So, like, if you know your opponent has a very linear recovery, you can just kind of just snipe them like that. Pretty good edge guarding tool. At low percentage, it's actually a confirm into, you know, other options. Like, you can just kind of forward air into, yeah, you can basically see there. So, you can basically just forward air into grab at really low percentage. It's basically, like, guaranteed. And if you can kind of string together multiple of them, you know, it's not true combos, but, like, you understand. Like, it's just good for carrying your opponent off the stage. It's also incredibly fast. I think it only has like 7 frames of landing lag, maybe less. Really, really, really safe and good move to space with. Again, it's not disjoint, it's not the best spacing move, but it's just still really good in general. Has just good feel to it and, all around. You know, decent damage, good speed, good spacing. You know, it doesn't really have like, it's not plagued by like a hitbox like Zelda's is. It's just, it's always the same damage, comes out quick. Next up, we have back air. Back air is one of the other moves in Palutena's arsenal that has invincibility. This one has less so than the dash attack. Let me see if I can get this for you so you guys can see it. So yeah, you can see it started to turn green about a frame or two ago, but that, basically that blue box right there, the shine, that move is basically, that entire area is basically invulnerable. It will just straight up trade with anything. It'll cancel out any projectiles. If your opponent's like throwing out a tilt or a smash, you'll just basically beat it clean. So yeah, needless to say, that makes this move incredible at spacing. So spacing with this move is really good. You got to get in the habit also of reverse aerial rushing it. It is incredibly, incredibly important to Palutena. It's something to practice. Even I don't have it quite all the way down. I'm still a little rusty. So yeah, definitely something to use. You can see as I'm doing it, there's the flashes of green on the shield. So yeah, important to note, this move does kill, and it does have some applications as far as like landing other moves. Obviously, for training purposes in this video, I kind of have like the damage locked to 0. But at higher percentages, this into like explosive flame is guaranteed based on spacing and percentage. There are other things you can do with it as well. You know, auto reticle setups, things like that. But yeah, move is incredibly important. One of the best things you can do with the character in neutral and for punishing. It's also another, just like back air, it's forward air I should say, it is an amazing walk-off option for edge guarding. It does stage spike. So something to look into. If your opponent just doesn't tech it, you just boom, pop them, dead. So yeah, definitely just don't sleep on back air. Down air. Down air has much less landing lag than it did in Smash 4. It also has a better hitbox and it's more consistent. Basically, the important thing to know with down air is that the heel of her shoe is where the hitbox is. So that's where you should be aiming for on the move, basically when you're trying to spike your opponent. So you can see how I'm like slightly underneath them. It's basically, it's the heel. That's where you're looking to hit them with. It has this really funky property. Here, let me turn off the fixed damage. Actually, I'll just turn it up slightly so you guys can see. It has this really funky property. If you land it on the ground here like this, it sends your opponent basically away, which basically allows you to just do kind of like weird setups. Like, you know, just either setups if your opponent techs or things like that. You can kind of, if they don't tech, you just punish them with dash attack like that. So yeah, really funky property on stage if they get hit by it. Obviously, its main use is to stage spike, which is off of down air. So you basically, or down throw, I'm sorry. So if you down throw them, like that's basically a setup. You know, it's not a true combo. They can, you know, DI it or air dodge it, but like if your opponent is lingering and doesn't really like, isn't all with it and right there and ready, you can just kind of go for it, or you can just kind of be like, hey, down throw. If they air dodge, you could just punish that like that. So yeah, it's also really good off of the ledge. I'm sure you guys have seen people do this before. You just hit down on your joystick and then jump the jump button at the same time, and then just immediately just press A. So you're just kind of like flicking it. So good option to just spike your opponent. Not the best, you know, spike in the game, but it is a usable spike and something you should try and go for. Palutena doesn't have too many. Like, she has a lot of ways to close out stocks, but none of them are incredibly consistent. So you kind of have to mix your opponent up and keep them guessing in order to get the kill, get the stock. So then last but not least, you know, certainly not least, is Nair. Nair is arguably her best aerial. If it's not up air, it's definitely this one. This move just controls a ton of space. The hitbox lasts forever, and it basically forces a juggle state when it hits. Like they basically just go almost fixed, a fixed location. Smash 4, it was fixed basically almost at every percent. In this game, it can actually kill, and it kind of just strings into itself really, really nicely. On top of that, it's an excellent move if you go over here. For platform harassing, you just kind of short hop it here, and just, you can see, you can basically cover almost the entire platform with the move. It's also really great for just poking or, pressuring your opponent who's shielding above you. Up air is obviously really good as well, but this gets more, it persists much longer and has more hits. It's also, a gimmick. It was basically in Smash 4 when you jumped in with Nair, this was basically a glancing hit. Let's see if I can get it for you. So you see how, like that, how I hit them? That was a glancing hit. In Smash 4, if you did that to them, you'd be stuck in landing lag, and your opponent could just basically punish you, because it'd be like they got hit with, like, pretty much a jab that had no real hit stun. In this game, it causes a pop-up, which, at this percentage, it's not great, but like you can see, you can just start to see like the applications if you can hit them with just a glancing hit on jump in. You can see, like, obviously the percentage is dependent, but you can get things like jump in, smash. At this percentage, probably down smash would work. So, if your opponent's not prepared for it, it's not exactly a safe jump in, but it is, again, a gimmick. And, we take those when we can. So, yeah, important to note, again, really, really good combo starter. Really, really good for spacing. Because you can, again, kind of like forward air. You have pretty good aerial control. To just kind of just throw this out there in midair and just kind of like drift back with it, drift forward. And the move persists long enough that it's going to, punish most air dodges if you can read where they're going to go. And again, like I said, amazing, amazing, amazing combo starter. So, next up we have smashes. Forward smashes first. It has basically a hitbox, like a wind hitbox here that pushes your opponent away, that keeps it somewhat safe, but it's still pretty, punishable because it is a smash attack. Its main use is just to, if you catch your opponent sleeping, you just, hit them with the F smash. It's also a pretty good option out of, dash. Just run, like, if they miss space and move, just, like, hitting them, like, run away and just clapping them is pretty good. Again, forgive my execution, it's been a long day. But yeah, so, that's basically its main use for just punishing your opponents. It's a pretty solid smash, but I would not rate it as, her best smash. I would say that's probably up smash. Up smash had a ton of gimmicks in Smash 4. In this game, it has some gimmicks, like you just saw the one with the jump in. But this move hits really far above you, and I think it recovers pretty much the fastest out of all our smashes. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely the most usable. It's especially good out of a dash. You kind of just like slide with it a little bit. It's not, you don't slide as far in this game as you did in Smash 4 with it, but it is like a pretty good option out of run, especially since it hits so high above you that you can just kind of just throw it out and use it as an amazing anti-air or catching somebody on a platform. A gimmick that is still in this game from Smash 4 is that it is a pseudo kill confirm off of down throw. So if you down throw your opponent, you can just kind of just like pop them like that. Obviously they can air dodge at it, but if you read the dodge, you can just kind of go and just charge it, larger. You can dash more distance. So that is one way to get a stock if your opponent doesn't know it's there. Just again, it's just kind of like a sliding up smash. So that is something you can try for if you're trying to kill somebody, but for the most part, it's largely just an anti-air, a platform harass, and like I said, it has gimmicks to kill your opponent. Next up, we have the down smash. I still think down smash is probably the worst smash. It was basically unusable in Smash 4. It has this win box, but let me show you. It does have trajectory that's a little bit strange. So it has basically like a weak and a strong hitbox. So like if you do it near the edge, your opponent goes pretty much straight sideways. I'll show you with like higher percentage. So like if you basically read a roll or a spot dodge, you can just kind of send them straight sideways with it. It has a strong hitbox near the base that sends them at a completely different trajectory, which is basically almost straight up. You see, like if that was an FD at 100, you're gone. So this move is very powerful, and I'm not really sure if it's much better in this game than say F Smash, because it certainly seems like it from the hitboxes, but at the same time, it's still really laggy. And if this is a little bit faster in coming out and punishing your opponent, but definitely something to experiment around with. This move definitely will catch the roll. But just like all smashes, it is pretty punishable. So lastly, we will talk about the B moves. First up is auto reticle. When you press it, if your opponent's within range, it'll lock on and it'll fire these 3 projectiles. It's important to note where Palutena is positioning the auto reticle from. It draws a straight line from her staff to the auto reticle. So if you were jumping, it does it from a different position, and that's really important. Basically, because of the positioning of this move, your opponent has to approach you, and they can't really reflect it at the same time. So like, because it's a straight line, I don't know if you like. Obviously, I could draw a line on my tee, but it doesn't show up for you guys. But if your opponent were to reflect it, it's going to go back and over Palutena's head, and that makes it really, really good for just forcing any character to approach her. It's still really laggy, so you don't want to be using it like up close. And like I said before, because you are using it from, it's drawing it from the staff. If you jump, you get a different angle, and that's kind of important because, let me show you guys here. Do it at like, say, around 60. You can see, like, if I back throw Marth here and I auto reticle, see how he just gets out of it? But if you do it like, I just stuff his, jump entirely. So where you start with auto reticle, you're going to draw a straight line from between where you start and your opponent. So based on like being below them or above them, it's really relevant on what kind of auto reticle you're going to get. And again, can't really be, reflected, so that's pretty good. This is not like a zoning tool. Again, this is a tool to basically either stuff recoveries or force your opponent to go somewhere that you want them to go. It was true in Smash 4. It's pretty much still true now. Next up is Explosive Flame. This move is massively buffed and nerfed at the same time from Smash 4. More buffs than nerfs. In Smash 4, the move is completely unblockable. In this game, obviously, it can be blocked. In Smash 4, I believe it couldn't really kill, and in this game, obviously, it can kill. So, Explosive Flame is an incredibly important tool, and it's very important for you as a Palutena player to know how to space it and when to use it. So, there are 3 ranges for Explosive Flame. The first is tilting it, which goes like about here. I'm like trying to do it too light. You'll see it goes roughly about 4 of these lengths away. Next up is smashing it, which if you it's kind of like you doing a smash attack, it'll go farther. And it's much farther, it's about 2 or 3 more of these blocks away. And then finally the last one is dashing it, which will put it like literally like right in front of her. Like if you basically have to be doing it like it basically, as long as you're dashing for at least a second when you do it, it'll be the closest it can be. So, the move is also, jump cancelable, and where you start the move is basically where you're going to place it. So if you are up here and do it, even though she sinks, since I started it here, I'm going to get it in that exact, basically either the tilt or smash range from where I start it, which is incredibly useful if we go over here off of platforms, because you can just kind of do like a walk off here on this platform, and you'll be underneath your opponent ready to anticipate wherever they're going, and you're still going to put this Explosive Flame on the platform here. Really important to note that. But as I was saying before, you can basically, I've seen people post online that she has this like wave dash into Explosive Flame, and that's not really the case. You're basically just jump canceling a dash, so it looks like that, which is another way you can do it to just kind of space the move a little bit better. Notice how I'm basically just jumping and then immediately Explosive Flaming. So if this helps you to place the move better, either while running or playing neutral, then by all means. But yeah, you can see I'm not really like wave dashing, even though it looks like it a little bit. It's literally pretty much just me just jump canceling the start of my dash. I just dash jump Explosive Flame, and I get that little like nice slide with it. So yeah, so that's basically it for Explosive Flame. It is a pretty good neutral move and a good punishing tool. You want to basically be using it like if you got your opponent like if you set them up with a pretty good combo or something. I'm not like failing there, but yeah. You can see, yeah. So if you do like down throw into like back air, and you know where your opponent's going to land, you can Explosive Flame them. So yeah, you can basically juggle with it if you just know where your opponent's going to land. Also, really, really, really good to note here. Good edge guarding tool. If you know your opponent's going to be here, You can just use this. If they're staying on the ledge for too long and their invincibility runs out, it'll pop them up. It'll catch a stand. It'll catch a jump. So yeah, really, again, really good to note where you're gonna basically push it or place it. So definitely practice with this move. Even I'm still not perfect with it yet because I'm not used to it being side B. It used to be a neutral B option in Smash 4. So next up we have down B. Down B is now a counter as well as a reflect. Important to note with this move is that it has half the startup frames that it did in Smash 4. I think it was like 13 in Smash 4, which is pretty much garbage. But with 6 frames startup, it's so much faster now, and then also the hitbox on the physical counter is much better now. And is more likely to secure a kill or at least deal some actual damage because it could actually just whiff. The counter could just straight up whiff in Smash 4. So this is a vastly improved option. Its primary uses are to just as a dash up option. If you know your opponent's going to do something, they're going to press a button as you come close. You could just kind of because again it activates so fast. You could just do it out of a run. Also really good for landing. Palutena's down air is not exactly like a money maker or any kind of breadwinner when it comes to protecting her underneath. So having the ability to have a counter that has some serious juice behind it and comes out quickly allows you to basically stabilize and land safely. So that's pretty much it for actually the physical part of counter. It's also important to note that her old side B is now built into the counter. So if your opponent hits you with a reflector, you can counter it, or a projectile, you can just activate the counter to activate the reflector and just bounce it back at them. I'm not sure how much I like it being the reflector tied to the counter. Obviously it's really good, but for those of us who played Palutena in Smash 4, you know how good reflector was because it was an unblockable move and it had a win box attached to it, which allowed you to kind of do some kind of crazy mind games and setups with people, and that's kind of gone. So again, I miss that. Palutena is a little bit more straightforward now because of it, but again, Palutena's counter is insane in this game because it's a reflector and a counter, and it's like I said, it's like 6 frames, 7 frames now. So great option for just baiting your opponent or to land safely. And then last up we have Warp, which is her up B. Just like Mewtwo's, it kind of can go in any of the directions. If you go straight down with it, it will, and there's still landing, an area to land on, then you will basically just kind of traverse whatever's left. So like if you do it really short and close to the ground, you'll just kind of zip there. And again, you can just kind of go wherever you want. Pretty decent option, to kind of like, fake your opponent out and go different directions with it. It's also an incredible recovery tool because since you're basically, intangible after its startup, it makes it very, very difficult to edge guard this character. You basically have almost a guaranteed way to grab the ledge. And then obviously it ledge cancels. So any stage with platforms is kind of Palutena's friend because as you guys know, when you up B in this game, you kind of go into this free fall animation. And if you kind of just warp over here, you just kind of like float around. You just kind of go, oh, and you can't do anything. But with Palutena, you can kind of take to a ledge and just kind of see how I don't go into free fall. If you just space it correctly and go, sorry, I'm like not quite as good with this again in this game, but yeah, you see how I got the forward air out of that? If you space it correctly, you can kind of just avoid that down B all together if you aim it for the lip of a ledge. That includes this ledge here, which I'm probably going to mess this up and fall to my death, but yeah, so obviously this is something I still have to practice as well. It's very, very important for the character to be able to ledge cancel here because it just gives you options from like this area. You're trying to get back down safely, you can kind of just not spacing it quite right. Why? By going straight down. You just kind of pop them with the forward air there, or trying to do back air. So yeah, you can just kind of get down safely while also landing with this back air there, like that, and it'll just force your opponent, if they're trying to punish your landing, you can just, again, use that invincible back air, just kind of, backhand them into the face and kind of get them off you, and that'll get you down safely. So definitely something to practice. Obviously, as you can tell, even I need practice with it. But yeah, it's definitely a really, really good option for getting back down to the stage. And again, most people aren't aware that it has a fixed distance it has to travel if you go into the ground. So like if you know you're like here and you just need to get back down, you might be able to just do straight like that. Yeah, so that's basically her move overview. Just again to recap a couple of combos for those of you guys who are looking for them. So fair into grab is basically an option at really low percents, probably until around 40. Important to note, Nair here does a drag down, so probably forgot to cover that one in the move section. But it is possible to do something like fair into a grab, into Nair, fast fall it, re-grab, and then just proceed to do more combos like that. So you basically get the idea of how this character kind of flows. You get like if you get a grab, you can kind of just take it all the way to the bank as long as you know where your opponent's going to DI. So there you go. That's basically a general overview of the character Palutena and her moves. Hopefully that this is somewhat helpful to you guys. Again, I'm not exactly the greatest person when it comes to execution. I don't get to play Smash as often as I used to, but I like to pride myself on at least knowing a little bit about the character and its that I choose to play and its applications and all of the options. So yeah, if this helped you guys at all, leave me a comment below. If you have any questions about the character or you think I missed something, but again, by all means, leave me a comment. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving me a like. If you really, really enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, possibly with other characters, or you just want to see me throw up some random matches against people with Palutena, please consider subscribing. So again, my name is Pat. Thank you guys for watching this long, and I'll see you guys in the next video.